You open your eyes for the very first time. And here you are, you've just been born, a brand new baby on the planet Viltrum. Several tall figures dressed in heavy battle armor stand over you, checking monitors to decide your fate. Yep, he's strong, the doctor says. Maybe he's just a regular guy with a stethoscope. Who knows? You're a baby. It's hard to tell. Your parents, who are still wearing their military uniforms, breathe a massive sigh of relief. You see, the Viltrumites have a brutal policy about childbirth. Only the strongest babies are allowed to live. The rest are, well, don't worry about them. This means you actually get to go home with your parents. But Viltrumite babies don't get to watch cartoons or play with stuffed animals. Instead, they lock you in a gravity chamber 4 times the strength of Earth, where every single muscle in your tiny body is forced to fight against crushing pressure. Your cries echo off the steel walls as you try to lift your head, but no one comes to comfort you. On Viltrum, weakness is never rewarded, even when you're a baby. By the time you're 2 years old, the power inside you is already showing. A full-grown Viltrumite can lift hundreds of tons, and even as a toddler, your toys are just massive, heavy concrete blocks. You're doing pretty well with them, too. You've even started floating a little, which means your flight training starts immediately. Your parents watch your progress like hawks, measuring everything to make sure you don't fall behind. They don't help you up if you stumble. They just stand back with their arms crossed, watching you struggle to get back on your feet. A true Viltrumite stands on their own always. Thanks, Dad. Everyone here is raised as a soldier from birth, so parents don't really know what genuine love feels like. Now you're 5 years old, and since you're holding up well, it's time to be thrown into the Juvenile Combat Initiative. It's full of other kids your age, but this isn't a playground. It's a battlefield for children. Basically, a toddler fight club. On your first day, you're matched against a boy named Lero, who's older and twice your size. There's only one way to win: completely knock out your opponent. Good luck out there, kid. As the match begins, Lero charges and knocks you right off your feet. Those extra years of training gave him more strength. But around here, there are no excuses. Get up, one of your instructors growls. You pull yourself up, dig deep, and drive your tiny fist straight into Lero's jaw. When he stumbles back, you take a chance and slam him to the ground. The crowd of parents and kids erupts into applause. At 5 years old, you've earned their respect for now. The Viltrumites believe they are the most superior beings in the universe, destined to rule over everyone else. Every part of this society exists just to breed perfect soldiers for a galactic takeover. Your first day of school is pretty straightforward, and every single subject ties back to the Empire's goals. History class only exists to glorify past conquests. Science focuses entirely on building weapons. Even math is taught through the logistics of war. Your PE class is just brutal combat training with a side of cardio, and every failure is punished. You better be perfect, kid, or you're not going to last long. School still leaves you with memories that will stick with you forever. Though, in history class, you're finally old enough to learn about the purging. The time Viltrumites wiped out the weak from their own population to make sure only the strongest survived. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, before they ever conquered the stars, Viltrum was torn apart by a horrific civil war. It started when the strongest members of the species got together and decided to systematically kill anyone who was weak or opposed them. It was a global bloodbath. Years later, the planet was in ruins and half the population was dead. But to them, the weak had been eliminated. From that point on, they adopted a brutal rule: only the strong survive. Viltrum was rebuilt by its superhuman survivors, and any alien planet they targeted would be offered a choice to join willingly. Those that refused were completely destroyed by an army of flying men. It's a tough lesson to swallow as a kid, but it's important for your survival that you understand it. You might not be a baby anymore, but it's never too late for them to get rid of you. Now, at 10 years old, your training escalates. You're sent on your very first observation mission to a freshly conquered planet. As you fly down, the air is thick with the smell of burning rubble and the skies are black with smoke. Villages burn and cities lie in ruins. You follow your squad leader, a towering man named General Korf, as he walks through the aftermath. He stops your squad right in front of the captured rebels, who are kneeling in chains with their heads bowed. Korf points at the prisoners. Decide their fate, he says, his voice completely empty of emotion. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Why does this have to be on you? Your heart pounds as you look at their terrified faces. But you know all too well that hesitation is dangerous and looks like weakness. With trembling hands, you point to the execution squad. Corf nods, and the prisoners are gone. That night, for the first and last time in your life, you lie awake, haunted by what you did. Don't get used to it, though, because we don't do guilt here. At 15, you're given your first solo mission, leading a squad to raid a rebel outpost. It's a small operation, but it's a direct test of your leadership. And you better pull it off because you remember what happens to failures. It's on a nearby planet, and you get there the same way everyone else on Viltrum travels across the galaxy. You don't need rockets or teleporters. Viltrumites can fly right through space and hold their breath for weeks. They move so fast that using a spacecraft would just slow them down. Your team descends on the outpost, but things go wrong almost immediately. The rebels are much better armed than expected, and the simple fight turns into total chaos. You manage to turn things around and finish the mission by destroying the outpost, but it costs you. Several of your squad mates are killed, and their bodies are left behind as you retreat. When you return to Viltrum, the loss of life is completely ignored. A victory is a victory, your instructor says, patting you on the back. What a wholesome life lesson. At 16, the moment everything you've ever trained for arrives. The Viltrumite trials. Without exaggeration, this is the biggest event of your life. These aren't just symbolic tests. They are brutal challenges designed to weed out anyone who doesn't fit the Empire's ideals. Failing here doesn't just mean embarrassment. It means death. This is your last chance to prove you deserve to live. Your trials begin on a distant moon with gravity 3 times stronger than Viltrum's. You and 30 other candidates are dropped there with nothing but the clothes on your backs. The goal is simple. Survive for a week while completing grueling challenges. But just surviving isn't enough. You have to dominate. The first task is a race across the moon's rocky surface. The ground is jagged and unstable, and every step sends sharp, painful shocks through your legs. You feel the heavy gravity pulling at you with every movement, and after just a few minutes, your muscles scream for relief. But there is no relief. Falling behind isn't an option. Those who do are left behind for dead, their bodies claimed by the harsh landscape. As you cross a ridge, you see the next challenge, a combat arena carved deep into the ground. The instructors announce that only the top 20 finishers will move on. You make it in time, but barely. You turn to face your first opponent, Laro, who is admittedly a lot bigger than he was back in Toddler Fight Club. He's taller, broader, and has a reputation for pure cruelty. You dodge his first massive swing and counter with a sharp blow to his temple, dropping him immediately. The fight is over in seconds. The instructors nod, but their faces stay ice cold. There's no praise here, just acknowledgement that you did what was expected. By the third day, only 12 candidates remain. The trials shift focus to teamwork, a strange twist given how much Viltrum emphasizes individual strength. You're paired with 2 others, Corvin, a quiet but highly skilled fighter, and Vetra, an impulsive recruit who's good at making things up on the fly. Your task is to break into a simulated rebel stronghold and eliminate the defenders. The simulation is anything but simple. The defenders are actual seasoned Viltrumite soldiers tasked with stopping you at any cost. As you approach, Vetra rushes ahead, completely ignoring your orders. She gets caught in an ambush, but Corvin pulls her back just in time. The 3 of you regroup and quickly come up with a new plan. You take the lead, coordinating an assault that completely outmaneuvers the defenders. It's messy and chaotic, but it works. By the end of the exercise, you've secured the stronghold and taken out the targets. Back at the trial grounds, the instructors debrief your group. They praise your leadership, but heavily criticize Vetra's reckless behavior. A team is only as strong as its weakest link, one of them says, staring her down. Vetra tenses up, but she doesn't dare respond. The lesson is clear. Even teamwork on Viltrum is just a tool, not a virtue. The last test is the most brutal of all, a free-for-all where only the strongest will come out alive. The instructors release you into a sprawling battlefield, a massive maze of cliffs, caves, and dangerous terrain. There's only one objective, be the last one standing. In the first few hours of pure chaos, alliances form and break in minutes as candidates betray each other just to survive. You stay on the move, avoiding big fights while quietly picking off weaker opponents. By the third day, only 4 of you are left. You, Corbin, a candidate named Tarek, and a brutal fighter known simply as the Beast. Tarek and the Beast form an uneasy alliance, forcing you and Corbin to do the same. The 4 of you clash in a brutal fight, every blow practically shaking the ground beneath your feet. Tarek is the first to fall, collapsing under Corbin's relentless attack. The Beast turns completely on you, his fists coming down like hammers. You manage to outmaneuver him, landing a sharp blow to his throat that sent him staggering back. Corbin takes the chance and finishes him off. Now it's just you and Corbin. For a split second, you hesitate. The 2 of you have fought side by side, saved each other's lives, and formed a real bond in the heat of battle. But bonds mean absolutely nothing here. With a swift, decisive strike, you knock him completely unconscious. The instructors declare you the victor. When the trials are finally over, you're one of the only 3 candidates out of 30 who even survived. You're bloodied, exhausted, and battered, but you've proven your worth. The instructors hand you the insignia of a Viltrumite warrior, a simple emblem that carries the heavy weight of everything you've endured. You've earned this, one of them says, their tone as cold as ever. Don't make us regret it. By your mid-20s, war has become complete second nature to you. Every day feels like a repetition of the last. Descend onto a planet, crush its defenses, pacify its people, and move on to the next one. The galaxy is vast, and the Empire demands total dominance. You barely have time to process one battle before you're thrust into another. You also now have a mustache, and so does every other Viltrumite man. It's actually legally required by the government that all men have a mustache, kind of like Australia. By your 40s, the cracks in the Empire's perfect image become harder to ignore. The conquests continue, but the resistance is growing fiercer. Rebellions that used to take days to crush now drag on for months. You stopped aging years ago. The older you get, the more powerful you grow, and the slower you age. You can live for thousands of years. In your 50s, you return home from a conquest after getting word that your father has died. The official report says he passed away during a routine training exercise, but whispers suggest something darker, an act of defiance punished by the Empire. At his funeral, they didn't mention a single thing about his personal life, only what he did to serve the military. They just relived his glory days as a leader. The doubts that have plagued you for years resurface. Was he truly a loyal servant, or did he question the path laid out for him? Shortly after the funeral, you are summoned to a meeting with High Command. They congratulate you on your years of service and inform you that it's time for a brand new role in the master plan, reproduction. They think your genetics are perfect and that it's your duty to carry that strength to the next generation. Except that generation won't be born here. You are given a file on a distant, resource-rich planet called Corallis. You see, one of High Command's most effective war strategies is sending scouts across the universe to infiltrate worlds and reproduce with the local species. Viltrumite genes are incredibly adaptive and potent. A Viltrumite can reproduce with almost any other race in the universe, and their genes will completely overpower the other parent's genetics, making the offspring almost purely Viltrumite. One of the few rules is that you're only allowed to procreate with genetically similar species. The more compatible the race is, the sooner the kids will inherit standard Viltrumite abilities. Humans of Earth, for example, are so genetically close to Viltrumites that a hybrid child is nearly identical to a pure-blooded Viltrumite and will eventually become just as powerful. But why are they doing this? To create more soldiers from the inside out and take over the planet. Looking at the file, the population of Corallis is humanoid, very good, and the world is a prime candidate for genetic integration. Your mission is to establish yourself among the Corallans, have children, and solidify Viltrumite influence on the planet. At first, this feels like a massive break from endless battles. Go live a normal life and start a family? For a guy like you, that sounds almost too easy. But this isn't about building a family. It's entirely about the Empire's agenda. The children you father won't belong to you. They'll belong to Viltrum. When you arrive on Corallis, you see it's quite beautiful. Not that you'd ever admit that out loud. The Corallans are incredibly peaceful people, and their whole culture is centered on art, community, and harmony with nature, which is completely different from everything you've ever known. Your initial interactions are very calculated, designed to gain their trust. You present yourself as a traveler seeking refuge. It's a smart play. When it comes to infiltration, it's one of the oldest tricks in the book. Over time, you integrate into their society, forming bonds and learning their ways. Despite your mission to destroy them from the inside, you can't help but admire them. Their values are so different from the Viltrumite agenda. Years from now, your people are coming to conquer or destroy this planet. But for the first time in your life, you begin to experience true peace. Eventually, you fulfill your duty and form a partnership with a Corallan woman named Illyra. Viltrumites are taught from an early age to view their mates as nothing more than tools for breeding or combat. Yet, you're beginning to see Illyra as so much more than that. Together, you have 2 children, both of whom inherit your superhuman strength and resilience. Raising them is unlike anything you've ever experienced. For the first time, you truly understand what it means to nurture and protect someone out of love. Yet, the Empire's shadow constantly hangs over you. You know that one day, High Command will call for your return, and your children will be expected to join the brutal military ranks. That day finally comes, and High Command praises your progress, ordering you to return to Viltrum with your children. But can you actually do it? That night, as your family sleeps, you make a final decision. You contact High Command and inform them that you've encountered some unforeseen complications. It's a big, fat lie, but at least it buys you some time. Over the next few weeks, you prepare. You teach your children how to properly use their abilities, instilling in them the values you've learned from both Viltrum and Corallis. You know that when the Empire finds out what you've done, they will come for you. But for now, you're giving your family a fighting chance. The Viltrumites finally arrive, led by an old and battle-scarred General Korf. You see a few faces you know, but most faces you don't. The invading army attacks, and the battle is absolute brutality. You are completely outnumbered, fighting with every single thing you have. And you know, deep down you're not winning this. All those years of intense combat experience serve you well. But in the end, you are just no match for the entire Empire. And you are killed leading the planet's last stand. But not before ensuring your family's escape. Illyra and the children successfully disappear deep into the wilderness. Their future is completely uncertain, but at least they're free from the Viltrumite army. The same can't be said about Corallis, though, which is now the Empire's newest addition. Your death is recorded strictly as a betrayal, and your name is quietly removed from the history books entirely. But to those who actually knew you, you're remembered not as a ruthless conqueror, but as a father who chose freedom over a millennial-old empire. Not bad for a kid in a gravity chamber.